I knew the moment I was supposed to die. My car, a brand-new self-driving Lexus CC, suddenly received a command to turn right and floor the accelerator on a pitch-black mountain road, even though I hadn't touched the wheel. I only had time to hear one cold, emotionless sentence from the system. Command confirmed. Eliminate target. And then boom, an impact crushed my chest lights. Shattered into 1,000 sparks, metal twisted around me, like a soul being torn in half. In the last second before I blacked out, the HUD reflected my own face, and behind it, standing in the dark trees, was a familiar silhouette, cold, still watching me die. A person I had loved, protected, trusted for almost 3 decades. Someone I never not in 1,000 years thought would order my execution. But I survived. And if you're hearing this right now, it means my story of revenge has already begun. My name is Marcus Hale, 50 years old, internal medicine physician. And the rest of this story, the part that's been buried for more than 30 years, will show you exactly why I'm no longer the quiet, gentle man who stayed in the shadows. Before I continue, if you're watching this video, hit like, subscribe, and most importantly, leave a comment telling me where in America you're hearing my story from. I genuinely want to know, because even now, I still can't tell whether the people who betrayed me are watching you or watching me. I've seen enough things in the ER to stop another man's heart, but not many that actually make mine freeze. That winter night was one of the rare moments life punched straight through my ribs. It was my last case of a Saturday shift. Fremont Regional Hospital smelled like antiseptic and cold steel monitors, beeping in rhythm, nurses hustling down the hall. The usual orchestra of a night everyone else slept through. I'd just finished suturing a construction worker's forearm and was about to bite into a granola bar when the ambulance bay doors blasted open, red lights flooding the room. 2 victims. Self-driving vehicle crash. 1 male. 1 female, both critical. Jenny, one of our night shift nurses, shouted, her voice tight, like something was about to snap. I pulled my mask up and stepped toward the stretchers, still unaware of who those 2 broken bodies belonged to, until I saw the chestnut hair streaked with blood and the silver necklace I had bought exactly 1 year earlier. Laura, my wife. My heart dropped so hard I thought the floor collapsed with it. I froze for a beat, just one. Then my training took over. Bay 3, I'm taking her. Go, go, go. I ran beside her gurney. Then I caught sight of the second victim, and my stomach turned to ice. Evan, my brother-in-law. 28 years old. Loud, goofy, naive, but good-hearted to the core. He was mangled all over, bruises blooming across his chest and ribs. But what stopped me was something much stranger. Evan had been found in the driver's seat, yet his hands were spotless. No steering wheel impact, no abrasions, no seatbelt marks. Where's the steering control trauma? I demanded. A tech shook his head. There is none, Dr. Hale. It's clean. Too clean. A police officer rushed in, eyes locked onto me. Dr. Hale, the car was not in manual mode. Someone hacked the autonomous drive system, forced a route override. I stared at him. Hacked, hijacked, externally controlled. Someone didn't just want Laura and Evan in an accident. They wanted to make sure it happened. I swallowed hard. My voice was steady, barely. First we save them. Everything else comes after. I rushed to Laura's side. Her eyelids fluttered. Still alive. Breathing hard but stable enough. I leaned closer, checking her pupils under the cold LED lights. Let's focus. Blood pressure. 90/60, Jenny answered. As I prepared to intubate, Laura's lips twitched. I leaned down slowly. Laura, can you hear me? Her breath hitched. And then, barely there, a ghost of a whisper, she breathed. Don't. Let her take you. Again. A chill knifed down my spine. Her who, and again before I could ask, She slipped into deeper unconsciousness. I moved toward Evan. He forced one eye open. Evan, stay with me. Talk to me. He gagged a thin crack of dried blood on his lip. Marcus, I didn't drive, I swear. She told me to. Who's? She said it was safer this way. Safer for you. For me, I didn't even get to react. Evan seized oxygen plummeting. The team swarmed him. I stepped back. In the chaos, a nurse laid Laura's cell phone on the instrument tray. Found this in her jacket. I barely glanced, screen cracked, covered in dirt. We never kept passwords between us. That wasn't the problem. The problem was, the phone buzzed. A new text. From an unknown number. No name, no history, no trace. Just one line failed. Retry soon. Whoever sent it knew about the crash, knew it hadn't killed them, knew another attempt was coming, but the part that suffocated me wasn't failed. It was retry. Retry what? Retry the kill or retry taking me away from my own family. Laura's dying whisper echoed like a voice in a well. Don't let her take you again. Again. Again from what? Again from who? And the worst part, I had no memory of anyone ever taking me from anything, which meant there was a gap in my memory. A hole someone planted there. The phone vibrated again. The text vanished, deleted faster than I could screenshot it. No logs, no metadata, no trace on the back end. Whoever sent it knew exactly how doctors think, knew how forensic cybersecurity works, knew I would try to follow the digital footprint, and erased it right in front of my eyes. A cold surgical kind of dread slid between my ribs. The police chief Cruz approached. Dr. Hale, we retrieved the black box. This wasn't an accident. The AI accepted a manual override from an encrypted external source. I felt the breath sucked straight out of my chest. Can you trace it? He hesitated. No. Whatever hijacked that car, it's military grade, or beyond. I gripped the steel table behind me. Not drug dealers, not thieves, not a malfunction. This was a programmed execution. I turned back to Laura lying still under the white lights. She's 47. We've been married 22 years. No enemies, no financial issues, nothing that screamed danger. And yet, someone wanted her dead. Badly enough to hack a self-driving system. Evan whispered, she said it's safer for you. Laura whispered, don't let her take you again. Both of them spoke of a woman. A her I couldn't place. Or worse, a her I had once known and forgotten. A tear slid from the corner of Laura's eye, even in unconsciousness. I'd never seen her afraid like this. Not of dying, not of pain, but of that woman. Whoever she was. The one Laura believed had once taken me away. Though I had no memory of such a thing ever happening. And that realization, that hole in my past, was more terrifying than the hack itself. Right as I stepped out of the trauma bay, Laura's phone buzzed again. This time not a text. An audio file. It auto-played the second the screen lit up. A woman's voice, smooth, low, metallic, filled the room. Marcus, you shouldn't have survived. People always say a near-death experience makes your whole life flash before your eyes. Mine didn't. Instead, it made the last 20 years snap into place, like puzzle pieces I had been too blind or too willing to see. The crash wasn't the beginning. It was the continuation of a plan I'd been living inside for decades. And I hadn't even known I was in the middle of it. When Laura and I first met, she was the kind of woman people instinctively wanted to protect. Gentle voice, easy smile, a soft fragility that made you feel needed. She had the kind of sadness that made men say, I'll take care of you. Back then I thought her quiet trembling was tenderness. I thought her fear of being alone was vulnerability. I thought her dependence was love. But looking back, it was strategy. Laura wasn't weak. She was precise. She knew when to cry, when to go silent, when to let her shoulders shake just enough to make me wrap an arm around her. She knew how to fold herself into the shape of a wounded bird, and how to make me feel like saving her was the same as saving myself. I once called it devotion. Now, with the hospital lights still burning behind my eyelids, I call it what it truly was: calibration. Her mother, Evelyn Grant, was the first person who tried to warn me, ironically, through her hostility. Not in words, but in the way she looked at me, like I was a tool she wasn't sure would hold up under pressure, like she needed to test my durability. At the time, I thought Evelyn's scrutiny came from being a controlling old money matriarch from the 80s, a woman who survived 2 recessions, a dead husband, and a crumbling family business. But now, I see that she wasn't just a tyrant. She was the architect of something bigger. Evelyn had built an intricate financial network, hidden beneath charities, real estate trusts, and family legacies that stretched back to the Reagan era. A lattice of shell companies that never appeared in newspapers, but always appeared in election donations and private clinics across the Midwest. Back then, all I saw was a difficult mother-in-law with a talent for making people feel inadequate. I didn't realize she had been testing me, not to protect her daughter, but to measure how easy it would be to bend me. Then there was Evan. God, if there's a tragedy in this story, it's him. I used to believe Evan was simply the sweet, irresponsible younger brother. Clumsy, a little lost, always in trouble, always apologizing. But now, after seeing him bleeding on that gurney, I can finally admit the truth. He was never useless. He was useful. A perfect pawn. Someone who owed money to the wrong people. Someone addicted to the validation he never got from his mother. Someone desperate, always desperate for affection or approval. Someone easy to manipulate. And Evelyn used him. Repeatedly. Masterfully. She dangled money whenever he spiraled. Withdrew it whenever she needed to punish him. And sent him toward me every time she wanted to know something Laura couldn't ask directly. There was always a pattern. Whenever I was exhausted on a 14-hour shift, or after a disaster call, Evan would show up. With beer. With a big secret. With some new crisis he needed help with. He played the role so convincingly that I never saw the strings. But tonight, with the memory of that crash still buzzing in my skull, I realized Evan didn't rove into our lives. He was placed at strategic moments, for strategic reasons, by a strategic puppeteer. And Laura, she was the masterpiece of the entire operation. She slowly, gently, subtly nudged me away from my own family. At first with excuses. My mother doesn't like big gatherings. Your brother makes me anxious. Your father judges me. Then with guilt. Every time you're with them, I feel like I'm losing you. I just need you here. With me. For once. Why am I always your second choice? And I, a man who dedicated his entire life to saving strangers, couldn't stand the idea of failing the woman I loved. So I stayed. Skipped reunions. Turned down camping trips with my brother. Stopped calling my dad every Sunday. One day, I looked up and realized my side of the family was gone, buried under the weight of Laura's tears. I had mistaken emotional dependency for affection. Now I know it was isolation, clean clinical isolation. But nothing prepared me for the moment. I stumbled onto the truth that made the wall around my stomach clench so hard I thought I might be sick. It was after the crash, hours after hearing Laura whisper, "Don't let her take you again." After seeing Evan convulse under the trauma lights, I went home to grab a jacket. The house was too quiet, too staged, too cold. I walked past the cabinet where we kept our documents. The door was slightly open. A single folder stuck out. My name on it. I pulled it free. Insurance forms, financial updates, medical proxies. Then I saw it. A letter from Great Shield Life Insurance, dated 8 months ago. Policy amendment approved. Coverage increased by 300 periods. Primary signatory Laura Hale. I stared at the page so long the words blurred. My ears rang. My throat closed up. She had raised my life insurance, tripled it. Not for kids we didn't have any. Not for a house we already paid it off. Not for sickness. I wasn't sick. No reason. No explanation. Just a quiet, secret, massive increase on the value of my death. 8 months before the crash. 8 months before tonight. 8 months before someone hacked a car to kill her and tried to kill me. My own wife had signed off on turning my life, my death, into a jackpot. And suddenly, 20 years of affection twisted into something sharp and metallic. Not love, not devotion, not partnership. Preparation. I folded the paper with shaking hands. For the first time in 2 decades, I finally allowed myself to ask, had Laura been planning for my death? Longer than I'd been planning for our future. Evan didn't wake the way trauma patients usually do. Not slowly, not groggy. He shot upright, like someone dragged him out of the bottom of the ocean, screaming in raw panic. Monitors spiked. Nurses rushed in. Evan thrashed, eyes wild, sweat soaking through the thin hospital gown. And the moment he saw me, he broke. Marcus. His voice cracked like a kid's. Dude, I swear to God, I didn't want you dead. I closed the door behind me. No nurses, no witnesses, just the 2 of us. And the truth Evan was choking on. Evan, I said quietly. Tell me, what happened? He swallowed hard. His hands trembled so badly he tried to pull the blanket up, like something was watching him. Marcus, the crash. It wasn't a crash. His eyes darted around the room. It was a hit job. I froze. Evan kept going, words tumbling out, like he was afraid he'd lose his chance to speak. Dude, listen to me. Laura and I, we weren't lovers. We weren't even close. We were just, he sobbed, just pieces. Just stepping stones in something way bigger. My stomach tightened. Bigger than Evelyn, I asked. He shook his head violently so hard the IV line rattled. No, no. Your mother-in-law is nothing. She's a puppet. Just like me. He inhaled sharply. There's someone else. Someone who's been pulling strings since before Laura met you. The room felt colder. Who? I asked. Evan, who? He swallowed again. The empty, haunted look in his eyes told me he believed saying the name out loud could kill him. He calls himself the benefactor. Evan whispered. His real name is Sullivan. My breath caught. Dr. Adrian Sullivan. Chief of Surgery. Legend of the field. The man who mentored half the doctors in the state. The one I always believed had integrity carved into his bones. The man who guided my first years in medicine. The man I trusted without question. My pulse hammered. Evan, I said, voice lowering. You're sure, Sullivan? Yes. Evan screamed, then covered his mouth like he feared someone could hear through the walls. He watches everything. He said you'd never see it coming. And he was right. I couldn't breathe. But Evan wasn't done. He looked at me terrified, like he expected a memory inside me to suddenly snap open. Marcus, he whispered, shaking. He said something else. A broken breath left him. He said, he used to be close to your father. My heart misfired. No, that couldn't, Evan. I said softly. What did you just say? He stared straight into me, eyes wide, wet, and terrified. Sullivan was a friend of your dad. The room warped around me. It shrank. My ears rang. My chest tightened. My father, a military medical officer who died in a lab explosion in '95. A man with no colleagues I ever met. A man whose past was a shuttered door. But Evan kept going. They worked together, he whispered. Some project. Some kind of medical program. Sullivan said your dad walked away. Said he knew too much. My vision blurred. Knew what I asked, barely audible. Evan wiped his face with a shaking hand and whispered two words that drove a blade straight through my spine. About you. I found Evelyn Grant alone in the hospital's family consultation room, sitting perfectly straight, legs crossed, a pearl necklace resting against her throat, the way some people wear body armor. She didn't look up when I entered. She already knew it was me. Her reflection in the window showed no surprise, no fear, just resignation. I suppose this was inevitable, she said. I shut the door behind me. The click sounded like a lock sliding in place. Evelyn, I said, my voice low, we're done pretending. I know the accident wasn't an accident. Evan talked. She didn't gasp, didn't panic. Evelyn only exhaled slowly, like releasing a secret she'd carried too long. Well, she said, turning toward me, I figured the boy would break eventually. He never had the spine for a real crime. My jaw tightened. So you admit it? Oh, Marcus, she murmured with a humorless smile. I've never denied it. You just never asked the right questions. There it was. That signature Evelyn arrogance. A lifetime of stepping on people and calling it grace. Why, I asked. Why target me? Why drag Laura and Evan into this? Why destroy your own family? She laughed. A bitter, cracked sound. Family, she said. You still think any of this was about family? I took a step forward. I want the truth. She leaned back in her chair, folding her hands in her lap. I may be a monster, she said softly, but I'm not the one who started this. Those words froze the air between us. Explain, I demanded. I helped, she admitted. Yes, I manipulated Laura. I kept Evan dependent. I kept you close, obedient, isolated. I kept your marriage intact, long after Laura wanted out. I did all of that. Why? My voice cracked. Money control, she shook her head. Marcus, the goal was never your money. Her eyes, sharp, calculating, softened in a way I'd never seen before. The goal was you. A chill ran down my spine. Someone wanted you dead, she continued. I don't know why. I never knew why, but I do know this, whoever they are, they planned it for decades. Decades. My heart hammered. Evelyn, I said, you expect me to believe you were just, what, a pawn? She smirked. Not a pawn. A queen. But even queens answer to kings. And who's the king, I asked. Her expression flickered fear, real fear for the first time since I'd known her. She whispered a single name like it was poison. Sullivan. I felt something twist in my chest. You've been working for him. No, she snapped. Working for him implies I had a choice. I was recruited. When Laura was 16. My stomach dropped. Recruited for what? To keep you on a leash, Marcus. To shape Laura into the perfect emotional tether. To make sure your life never drifted too far from their plans. Them. Plural. How many are we talking about, I asked. I don't know, she said, voice trembling. Sullivan was the only one who ever met me. But he always said we. She rubbed her wrist nervously, a gesture I had never seen from her. I was told she continued to make you dependent on Laura. To keep you away from your biological family. To ensure you married her. And later, she swallowed hard. To keep you compliant. I felt my blood run cold. All those holidays we missed, I murmured. All those family fights Laura started right before my planned reunions. You engineered those. Yes, she said. And Evan sabotaging your job interviews, your fellowship opportunities. That was me too. Well, me and some money in the right hands. She said it like she was confessing to a parking ticket. Why? I asked again. Why me that? She whispered, I never knew. Sullivan told me that Marcus Hale had to be watched, that Marcus Hale could not be allowed to slip through cracks, that Marcus Hale had to remain predictable. Her eyes finally met mine. Marcus, they were terrified of you. I blinked. Terrified of me? Why? She shook her head helplessly. I asked Sullivan once. I was bold back then. I said, why him? He's just a man. Sullivan looked at me. And his face, God, Marcus, I'll never forget it. His face turned cold. She mimicked his quiet, chilling tone. He is his father's son, and that alone makes him dangerous. My breath caught. Your father, Evelyn said gently, wasn't who you think he was. I felt the floor shift under me. My palms went cold. Evelyn, I said, what aren't you telling me? She hesitated. Then 25 years ago, Sullivan came to me. He warned me. Her voice broke. He said, keep Marcus under control, or I will end your entire family. I stared at her. And you believed him? She nodded, tears gathered at the corner of her eyes, something I never thought I'd see. Marcus. A month after that warning, my brother was found dead. A hunting accident, they said. She inhaled sharply. But he didn't hunt. He hated guns. And the look on his face, Marcus, it wasn't an accident. My heart pounded. Sullivan sent you a message? She nodded. A very clear one. Why didn't you go to the police? Her laugh cracked into something unhinged. Police against men like them, Marcus. You report monsters like that, and they don't even go to trial. You do. I pressed my hands to the table between us. So everything you did, the manipulation, the marriage, the isolation, all of it was to keep me controlled. Yes, she whispered, to keep you alive. My breath caught. Marcus, they don't want your money. They don't want your career. They don't even want Laura. Her eyes whitened with a terrible truth. They just want you gone. And they've wanted it for a long, long time. I felt the room tilt. And the accident, I asked. Her voice dropped to a tremble. I was told to pave the way. But I didn't plan the final strike. I didn't hack the car. I didn't touch Laura. I didn't order Evan. That was all them. She leaned forward, gripping my wrist. Marcus, you need to run. I didn't pull away. I looked her dead in the eyes. No, I said, I need to remember. Her face drained of color. You already know too much, she whispered. I stood. I think I don't know enough. As I reached the door, Evelyn's voice, thin trembling, followed me. Marcus, please, whatever you do, don't go looking for Sullivan. I didn't turn around. Because I already had. And the truth waiting behind his name was the truth they'd tried to kill me for. The detective slid a folder across the metal table. A simple manila folder, ordinary, harmless, yet the moment it touched my hands, something in my chest tightened like a fist. Dr. Hale, Detective Rowan said quietly, we pulled the data from the vehicle's black box. I braced myself. Sit, he urged. I stayed standing. He exhaled and began reading from the report. Item 1. The vehicle's autonomous driving system was hijacked remotely. Whoever did it used a multi-layered masked IP. Military-grade spoofing. My heartbeat slowed, then ceased. Item 2. The brake system did not fail by accident. It was disabled exactly 3 seconds before impact. My breath caught. 3 seconds. Not enough time to fight back, but more than enough time to watch death coming. Item 3. The black box captured real-time biometric readings from the cabin. What does that mean? I asked, though I already sensed the answer. Rowan looked at me with something like pity. It means Evan wasn't driving. I closed my eyes. The room swayed. And Laura, I forced out. The detective slid a printed frame from the dash cam toward me. A frozen image. Laura in the passenger seat, both hands clutching her head, creasing, shaking, terrified, not grabbing the wheel, not reaching for controls, not steering into the guardrail, just braking. She wasn't trying to kill anyone, Rowan said. She was panicking. Whatever took control, took it from both of them. He paused, then added, Dr. Hale, your wife wasn't the perpetrator. She was collateral. The air in my lungs felt sharp, like breathing glass. I'm sorry, he murmured. There's more. He reached into another evidence bag. This was found in Laura's jacket pocket. A USB drive. My stomach dropped. He slid it toward me. We cracked it. You need to see what's inside. I sat down slowly. Against my will. Rowan opened the first file on the screen behind him. A folder labeled Fingerprints, M. Hale. Inside were dozens of high-resolution scans of my hands. Every angle, every ridge. Collected without my knowledge. He opened the second folder. Rows of text filled the display. Smart lock override codes to my house. Encrypted strings matching my bank accounts. Backdoor credentials for the hospital's staff network. My biometric login signatures. My identity. My life. Mapped, copied, packaged. Ready to be used. Hoary feast. I whispered, why would Laura have these? But the detective didn't answer. He had already opened the third folder. Medical dossier, 1994. Old documents scanned into digital form. Yellowed edges, smudged stamps, handwritten notes. The header read, U.S. Department of Defense Medical Research Division, Classified Program. Neuroventicil Protocol, led investigators, Dr. Adrian Sullivan, Dr. Thomas Hale. My throat went dry. My father, Sullivan. Together. I didn't remember standing, but suddenly I was on my feet, fingers digging into the table. What the hell is this? Rowan swallowed. He wasn't prepared for the weight of my reaction. I don't know, Dr. Hale, but there's something else. He clicked the last file. The top of the document was overlaid with a red stamp so dark it bled through the scan, sealed by court order. Case 94-112B, unauthorized access CCOs, is a federal offense. The words hit harder than a physical blow. Court sealed. Meaning there was a crime, a cover-up, a buried past. Rowan spoke carefully, as if choosing each word with tongs. Whatever happened in 1994, someone powerful didn't want it to see daylight. My voice shook. What does any of this have to do with the crash? He stepped closer. Everything points to one thing, Dr. Hale. Someone didn't just want access to your files. They wanted your identity wiped clean, right before eliminating you. I stared at the USB. Laura had kept this in her pocket the night she almost died. But was she delivering it? Protecting it? Or caught in the middle of a storm she finally tried to escape? Rowan continued, those fingerprints, those codes, those were tools to impersonate you, to drain your accounts, to access restricted systems under your name, to commit crimes carrying your signature. And the old medical file, I whispered. Rowan sighed. That's the part we don't understand. Why combine identity theft with a decades-old classified medical scandal? Unless they weren't separate things at all. Unless the crash wasn't only about killing me, but erasing me. Erasing the last connection to Thomas Hale. Erasing the son of the man who walked away. Erasing the loose end Sullivan warned Evelyn about. A chill ran the length of my spine. Rowan lowered his voice. Dr. Hale, someone has been planning this for a long time. A very long time. That USB wasn't a clue. He looked me straight in the eye. It was a countdown. I felt the truth slam into me like a second crash. This wasn't random, not emotional, not revenge, not money. This was architected. A three-dimensional trap. of the hacked vehicle, the forged digital identity, the court-sealed past, a perfect triangle, a perfect kill box. Rowan placed a hand on the folder. We're still digging. But you need protection, Marcus. I shook my head. No. Protection won't stop whoever did this. Rowan frowned. Then what will I looked at the old medical file? At my father's name beside Sullivan's. What will stop them? The truth. The truth someone killed for in 1994. The truth they're killing for now. I closed the folder slowly. I'm done being hunted, I said. They wanted me erased. I'm going to give them something else. Rowan frowned. What? I met his eyes. A man who remembers. The 1994 medical dossier lay on my desk like a relic, excavated from another life, one I wasn't sure I wanted to remember. But I had no choice. The edges of the pages were brittle, almost burnt-looking. The ink faded in places too crisp in others, like someone had decided what deserved to survive the past and what needed to be erased. I opened it. The first page hit me in the chest. Patient Thomas Hale. Date of death. August 14, 1994. Location. St. Anthelm Hospital. Or 3. Lead surgeon. Dr. Adrian Sullivan. My vision blurred for a moment. My father hadn't died in a lab accident. He died on an operating table. Under Sullivan's hands, I turned the page. The surgical report was concise. Too concise. Procedure complication. Cardiac arrest. Resuscitation unsuccessful. Cold, clean, clinical. Like someone had scrubbed the soul out of it. My father was a military medical officer. He'd survived desert deployments, infectious outbreaks, furnace heat, and battlefield chaos. But I was supposed to believe he simply died from a complication. Something in my chest rebelled. I scanned the margins. Handwritten notes, edits. Phrases crossed out with perfect black strokes. Then I saw it. A faint imprint. Words someone had tried to erase, but hadn't pressed hard enough. BP drop unexplained final 90/60s. Anesthesia dosage irregular reevaluate weight. My blood went cold. My father's blood pressure collapsed in the last 90 seconds. And the anesthesia level was wrong. Deliberately wrong. I flipped to the monitoring sheet. The anesthesia line had been rewritten in a different pen, different handwriting. Someone had altered the numbers. Someone had tried to hide the overvoice. A chill crawled up my spine. Sullivan was the lead surgeon. He always controlled the anesthesia plan. Why change it after? Why erase the collapse? Why bury the truth under a court order? A memory surfaced, one I didn't understand until now. I was 9. Sullivan at our house after my father's funeral. He knelt down, held my shoulders, and said softly, "You'll do great things one day, Marcus. Your father would want that. Stay close to good people." And he'd smiled. I thought it was kindness. Now it felt like a warning. Or a threat. Or both. My hands trembled as I turned the last page and froze. A name in bold typed beneath Administrative Review Board. 994 E.V. Elin Grant, Financial Administrator. My pulse slammed into my throat. Evelyn, she'd been there. She'd worked at St. Anthelm. She wasn't just a distant appendage of Sullivan's world. She'd been right in the room where truths were rewritten. A wave of nausea rolled through me. I grabbed my phone. Called her. It rang once, twice, and then her voice answered, exhausted, hollow. "Marcus, you lied to me," I said quietly. "You told me Sullivan came to you years after my father died. But you worked at the hospital. You were involved." A long, suffocating silence. Then Evelyn whispered, voice splintering, "I hoped you would never open that file." I gripped the phone harder. "Did you know?" My voice trembled with something between prissy and heartbreak. "Did you know he hurt my father?" A choked breath. A broken inhale. "Yes," she whispered. The floor felt like it tilted under me. She continued, words spilling like someone finally giving up the last piece of their soul. I was young. I was stupid. I believed Sullivan when he said if we reported the anesthesia error, his career would be ruined, and your family would never get closure. Closure? I hissed. My father died because of him. You covered it up. Her voice cracked. I thought I was saving my job, my reputation. I didn't realize I was saving a monster. You helped him, I said. You protected him. No, she snapped suddenly. I protected myself. I told myself he didn't mean it, that it was a mistake, that he would learn from it. Her breath shook. But then, bodies kept piling up. My heart stopped. What bodies? Anyone who got too close. Anyone who questioned his research. Anyone who knew about the Neurovantatil project in '94. I put a hand to the table, steadying myself. Evelyn, what was Sullivan working on with my father? She didn't answer. Tell me. You don't want to know. I need to know. She inhaled shakily. Your father was trying to shut it down. He realized what the project was really testing. He confronted Sullivan. The very next day, her voice broke. Your father was scheduled for a minor exploratory surgery. Minor. Routine. My stomach dropped. And he never woke up. The pieces slammed together. My father was murdered. To protect a program. To protect Sullivan. And Evelyn had helped seal the crime. And now, I said, my voice like ice. Why is Sullivan killing again? She whispered the answer like a curse. To clean the board. I swallowed. What board? The board he built in 1994. The board your father died trying to break. A shiver tore through me. And me? I asked. Why does he want me dead? Because Evelyn whispered, you're the last piece. The last surviving person who could expose what happened. Even if you don't remember it, your existence is a threat. I felt my pulse hammering in my neck. You helped him bury it. Now he's burying you. Her voice cracked into a sob. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm so sorry. I hung up. Not out of cruelty, but because my knees gave out. I sank into the chair, dossier open before me, my father's name staring back at me. Sullivan wasn't a ghost from my past. He was the architect of my future, the man who shaped my life by destroying the person who gave it to me. My father died trying to stop him. Now Sullivan wanted to finish the job. And I realized something terrifying. I didn't know whether I wanted justice or revenge. Detective Claire Rowan wasn't supposed to be on this case. Officially, she'd been reassigned. Unofficially, she walked into the dimly lit archives room at 2:14 a.m., tossed me a visitor badge and said, Congratulations, Dr. Hale. You just hired yourself a rogue cop. I stared at her. You're risking your badge. She gave a humorless smile. You're risking your life. Seems fair. That was how our covert partnership began. Two people standing on the edge of something vast, rotten, and decades old. Together, we hunted Sullivan. But the truth hunted us faster. We started with the one fact that felt impossible to ignore, the hacked Lexus ES. The remote override. The precision. Claire pulled up a file on her tablet. Sullivan owns a company, she said. Or rather, he controls it from the shadows. The screen displayed the logo Aurelian Systems, Autonomous Navigation Intelligence Solutions, a clean, modern design. Corporate. Innocent. Until she flicked to the next page. A list of patents. Remote autonomous override. Multi-route priority shifting. Encrypted emergency rerouting. Behavioral driver modeling systems. The kind of technology that sounded like a safety feature until someone used it to kill. I exhaled slowly. He's running an AI driving corporation. More than running, Claire said. He's the architect. The patents predate the company by 10 years. All of them have one original owner, Sullivan. My stomach tightened. And the override used on your car, she said. Same signature, same encryption pattern. So the crash wasn't improvisation. It was a tool he built for this exact purpose. A scalpel he wielded across 20 years. Claire leaned closer to the screen, tapping to reveal a map. 6 red dots blinked across the Midwest. 6 fatal autonomous car accidents in the last 5 years, she said. Every one ruled a freak malfunction. And I asked. They weren't random. She zoomed in. Name by name appeared Dr. Patel, 2019. Formerly anesthesiologist, St. Anthelm Hospital, 994. Dr. Hendrick, 2020. Surgical assistant, OR3 St. Anthelm Hospital, 994. Dr. Viola, 2021. Researcher on Neurovanticil Program, 1994. Dr. Emerson, 2022. Ethics Board Whistleblower Attempt, 1994. Dr. Cho, 2023. Filed sealed complaint about Sullivan, 1994. Laird, 2024. Wrote an unpublished review on Neurovanticil, 1994. 6 doctors. 6 years. 6 silent deaths. Every one of them tied to the same place, St. Anthelm Hospital. 1994. The year my father died. My pulse hammered. Every witness, Claire whispered, every colleague of your father. Gone. And the 7th target. My voice sounded like it was coming from somewhere else. She turned toward me. You. The next discovery made my chest clamp tight. Look at this, Claire said, opening a separate file, one she kept encrypted even from her department. A series of money transfers appeared. Corporate accounts, shell companies, charity fronts, foundations with names like Sunset Outreach and Northside Heritage Fund. But the one name that kept recurring wasn't a company. Evelyn Grant, my mother-in-law. Rows of transfers bore her signature. Millions flowing through her accounts, some coming in, some going out, all circling back to Aurelian systems. She was bankrolling him, I asked, stunned. No, Claire said softly. Watch. She tapped again, and the screen lit up with the true ownership data. Hidden behind 6 layers of proxies, 7 law firms, 3 offshore accounts. The real owner of every asset property account and grant Evelyn thought she controlled was Adrian Sullivan. My stomach dropped. Evelyn wasn't the mastermind, Claire whispered. She wasn't even wealthy. I stared at the documents, horror sliding cold and slow through me. All this time, she thought she was in charge. But she was nothing more than a smokescreen, a front, a distraction, a queen who didn't know the board belonged to someone else. Claire continued. We ran forensic accounting on 20 years of her finance. Every asset came from a source connected to Aurelian systems. Every investment, every inheritance, every trust fund. I sank into the chair. So Sullivan funded her life. Funded, Claire laughed bitterly. He owned her life. A silence fell between us. Heavy, suffocating, irrevocable. Marcus, Claire said gently, there's a reason he built everything around your family. I looked at her. I think she said Sullivan never stopped cleaning up. 994. I closed my eyes. 6 doctors dead, she continued. 1 woman used as financial camouflage. Your wife and brother-in-law, manipulated into place. And you, the last loose thread, I whispered. The last one alive, she confirmed. Even if you didn't know the truth, you exist. And as long as you exist, the past isn't buried. I swallowed hard. My father's voice won. I barely remembered, echoed through me. You must protect what matters, Marcus. Even when you don't understand why. I never understood. But now I did. And the truth felt like a blade pressed against my spine. Claire leaned forward. We have enough to go after him, she said. At least to force an inquiry. I shook my head. An inquiry won't touch him. Men like him built the systems that are supposed to investigate them. Claire exhaled. Then what do we do? I looked at the network map, glowing on the monitor. The web of deaths, the financial lies, the erased identities, my father's name, Sullivan's signature, my own ghost written into the margins. We go deeper, I said quietly, to the beginning, to the thing he killed for. Claire nodded slowly. To whatever the hell they were doing in 1994. I met her eyes. And if we find it, she gave a grim smile. Then we burn his whole world down. Before we left the archives, Claire pulled up one final file. A deed, a signature, a contract dating back 25 years. Every cent Evelyn ever had came from Sullivan. Every property, every account, every asset she believed she controlled was in his name. She was never wealthy. She was a camouflaged vault he used to move money without scrutiny. A puppet who thought she was a puppeteer. A queen who never realized the king had carved the board beneath her feet. Claire shut off the screen. Marcus, she said softly, we're not just chasing a killer. I exhaled. I know. We're chasing a man who's been rewriting lives for 30 years. And mine, I said, was his longest project. I stood. Let's end it. The phone rang at 3:19 a.m. Unknown number. No caller ID, no metadata, no trace. But the moment it vibrated in my hand, something deep in my chest tightened, like a part of me already knew who it was. I answered. Marcus. A voice slid through the speaker like a knife through silk. Calm, patient, deadly. Sullivan. My spine went rigid. He didn't breathe heavily. Didn't rush. His tone was the same one he used during surgical lectures, decades ago, the tone of a man who believed he owned every room he entered. Marcus, he repeated, I saved your life once. You owe me. My knuckles whitened around the phone. And now, Sullivan said quietly, I need you gone. A chill rippled through me. I forced myself to speak. You murdered my father. He chuckled, soft, effortless, as if I'd just repeated something amusing. Murder is a crude word. Your father was brilliant, but tragically moral. He discovered something he shouldn't have. I gritted my teeth. The anesthesia trafficking. Very good, Sullivan said, sounding genuinely proud. Thomas was smart enough to notice the discrepancies. Dosage amounts, missing vials, illegal shipments routed through the surgery wing. And he was going to expose you. Yes, Sullivan said almost fondly. He was. Until I realized he wouldn't stop. Men like your father, he mused, don't know when to walk away. My stomach turned. So you killed him. I eliminated a threat, Sullivan corrected. On the operating table where outcomes can always be unpredictable. My vision blurred with Faye, and Evelyn helped, I growled. Oh, Evelyn was delightful, he said, ambitious, frightened, and entirely dependent on the financial crumbs I allowed her to believe were hers. You forced her. No, Sullivan said with a smile I could hear. I motivated her. I showed her how easily accidents happen. After all, her brother's hunting mishap was remarkably persuasive. My heart pounded. He went on. She forged signatures, redirected audits, ensured the review board never saw the real anesthetic logs. She played her part beautifully. I swallowed hard. And Laura, I whispered. Was her life manipulated too? Sullivan gave a soft sigh, like a professor disappointed his student had taken too long to understand. Marcus, do you think it was coincidence she met you during her volunteer rotation? Do you think her compassion was natural? Do you think her tears were organic? My stomach twisted. You engineered her, I breathed. I refined her, he corrected. Laura was unstable, impressionable, easy to shape. Exactly what you needed, a woman who would keep you tethered, predictable. My throat went dry. You made her my handler. Yes, Sullivan said. She was a safe tool. Not intelligent enough to challenge you, not strong enough to leave you, not brave enough to betray me. My chest tightened. She loved me, I whispered. He laughed softly. No, Marcus, she was trained to depend on you. There is a difference, and she served her purpose, my voice cracked. And Evan? What about him? Ah, Sullivan clicked his tongue. Evan was a test subject. A loyalty experiment. Nothing more. I needed to know if Laura's influence could be reinforced by family pressure. It worked well enough. I pressed a hand to my forehead. The room felt smaller. He continued calm, clinical. You see, Marcus, your life has never been yours. Every step you took was shaped, guided, nudged. Every success permitted. Every failure engineered. Why? I rasped. Why me? Sullivan's answer chilled the marrow in my bones. Because your father infected you with his conscience. And conscience, he said, is a contagion. He paused. And I cannot risk that contagion spreading. My pulse thudded in my ears. You think I'm dangerous? I asked. I know you are, he said simply. Your father warned me about you. Said you'd grow into a man capable of uncovering everything I built. And so, I've spent 20 years preparing. My legs went numb. You tried to kill me, I whispered. 3 times, he corrected. His tone remained eerily casual. The car crash last week was only the most recent and elegant attempt. My breath caught. 3 attempts. When Sullivan sighed like a man tired of repeating himself. Your highway accident in 2009. Your unexplained elevator fall in 2015. And last week's test drive. The world blurred. I wrote those off as bad luck, I murmured. I counted on it, Sullivan said. That's the beauty of engineering fate. It feels organic to those living it. Laura knew, I asked. Not at first, he said. Not entirely. She was told you were in danger. Told to keep you emotionally dependent. Told you needed guidance. My stomach nodded. She thought she was helping protect you, Sullivan added, which made her far more loyal than fear alone ever could. And the USB, the fingerprints, the login codes. Contingencies, Sullivan said. Your identity had to be erased before your body disappeared. A clean slate for a clean removal. My chest constricted. You were never meant to reach 50, Marcus. I clenched the phone so tight my knuckles threatened to split. You won't get another chance, I said. Marcus, Sullivan replied almost tenderly. You don't understand. His voice lowered into something icy and intimate. I already have. My breath froze. Then the line clicked, and the call ended. I didn't sleep. Not after Sullivan's call. Not after hearing the truth about my father, and about myself. By the next evening, the plan was ready. Not revenge. Not justice. A trap. A trap for a man who believed he couldn't be trapped. I wired the entire house. Micro cameras in the lamp fixtures. Directional mics behind the book spines. A silent recorder embedded in the thermostat. Every angle covered. Every lie captured. Every truth forced into daylight. Then I sent out the invitations, 3 separate text messages. Calm tonight. We put an end to this. 1 to Laura. 1 to Evan. 1 to Evelyn. And then the last one. The one meant for him. You were right. My father warned me about you. Come finish what you started. If you're not afraid, I'll outlive you. A taunt designed with surgical precision. A threat no narcissist could resist. And for added security, I contacted the Federal Medical Crimes Task Force agents who'd been circling the suspicious anesthesia deaths for years. I told them I had evidence. I told them I had confessions. And I told them to come quietly, but heavily armed. The first to arrive was Laura. She stepped inside like a ghost, wearing her own skin eyes, hollow lips, trembling fingers, twisting a silver bracelet the way she used to whenever she lied. Marcus, she whispered. I don't know what you think you know, Sid. My voice cut sharper than a scalpel. She obeyed instantly. Of course she did. The conditioning ran deep. Evan arrived next. Sweaty, shaking, eyes darting like prey sensing a predator nearby. Dude, he croaked. If this is about the car, it's about everything I said. He swallowed hard. Then Evelyn. She limped inside, aged 20 years in 2 days, mascara smudged hands shaking so violently, she almost dropped her purse. Marcus, she pleaded, you have to understand. Save it, I said. You'll talk later. All three sat in the living room. None of them could look at each other. The air felt electrified, charged with secrets begging to detonate. I began the dismantling. Laura, I said, turning toward her. Tell them how old you were when Sullivan recruited you. Her breath hitched. Marcus, please, tell them. She broke. 14, she whispered. He sponsored my therapy sessions, paid my school fees, took care of me after my mom died. He wasn't just a mentor. He built me. He said I was meant to anchor you, to keep you emotionally regulated, stable, predictable, a safe asset. Tears fell. I thought I loved you. I really believed I loved you. But I don't know if any of it was real. Evan spoke next. His voice came out cracked, desperate. He paid off my debts, all of them. 42 grand. I never even asked how he knew. He just said, loyalty is the only bill you'll ever owe me. He gave me money to finish rehab. Then he made me follow Laura's lead. He said you needed pressure points, people who could keep you from asking questions. He pressed his shaking hands against his forehead. I swear, dude, I didn't want you dead. I didn't even know the plan was that. Evelyn collapsed into her confession. Marcus, her voice broke before the sentence was done. I never hated you. I feared you. She swallowed. He told me, Sullivan told me, keep Marcus manageable, or I'll erase your family. I believed him. I'd seen what he could do. I saw what he did to your father. I saw the files. I helped bury them. She shook uncontrollably. I tried to protect my children. But I became part of the machine that destroyed you. Her tears were real. But they came 20 years too late. Then the air shifted. A faint creak. A shadow stretching across the doorway. Sullivan stepped inside. Not sneaking. Not hiding. Walking in like a man arriving at his own coronation. Tall, composed. An impeccable suit. Eyes as cold as the steel instruments he once held in operating rooms. Well done, Marcus, he said softly. You've gathered the entire cast for the final act. No one breathed. Even the cameras seemed to hold still. He looked at me, the way surgeons look at tumors. You're predictable, he said. Like your father. He wasn't my father, I said, voice steady. Sullivan smiled. Ah, there it was. He'd been waiting for that line. Marcus, he said gently, Thomas Hale was never your biological parent. My heart didn't beat. It fell. You, I whispered. It's you. He nodded. Do you think I groomed Laura? Paid Evan, controlled Evelyn? For money, for control. He shook his head. No, I did it because you are mine. My blood, my legacy. His eyes hardened. And I will not allow that legacy to expose me. The room froze. Even Laura stopped breathing. Evan's mouth hung open, soundless. Evelyn covered her mouth with both hands, choking on a sob. Sullivan spread his arms. This entire evening, your little trap. It doesn't matter. You think the police will arrive in time. You think you've caught me. He laughed quietly. They're already dead in the driveway. My pulse spiked until he pressed a button on his key fob. Beep, beep. 2 short tones, then one long. A detonation sequence. Your car, outside, Sullivan whispered, is rigged with enough explosive to remove every trace of tonight. The others screamed. Laura covered her head. Evan dropped to the floor. Evelyn started praying. Sullivan tilted his head. "Any last words, son?" I smiled. A slow, controlled, deliberate smile. "I replaced the detonator," I said. His eyes widened. Then boom. Not the house, not us. His BMW erupted in the driveway. Windows rattled. The floor trembled. Sullivan staggered back in shock. Red and blue lights washed across the room as federal agents stormed through every entrance. Sullivan Grant, hands up. Don't move. He didn't run. He didn't shout. He just stared at me, with a hatred so pure it could have melted bone. "You were never supposed to survive," he whispered. And yet I said quietly, "Here I am." The agents tackled him to the ground. They dragged him out. His eyes never left me. The house fell silent. A silence 20 years overdue. 2 years. That's how long it took for my life to stop feeling like evidence in an open case file. Sometimes I still wake up at night, expecting sirens, or Sullivan's voice slipping through the dark like a scalpel aimed at my thoughts. But when I open my eyes now, there's only stillness and water. Because these days this is home, a small cedar-sided cabin on the quiet edge of a lake in northern Minnesota, where the morning fog rises like an old soul, learning to breathe again. I split my own firewood. I brew cheap coffee in an old enamel pot. And most mornings, I sit on the dock and let my feet skim the water until it goes numb. Peace is a strange thing. It doesn't arrive with trumpets. It just quietly replaces the noise. What became of all of them? People ask. Sometimes out of curiosity. Sometimes out of morbid fascination. Justice stories have spectators. But survival stories are quieter. Laura. She never stood trial. Federal psychologists evaluated her for nearly a month before concluding she'd been molded, sculpted really, since adolescence into a weapon, with a smile. The word they used was conditioned. She was sent to a long-term psychiatric facility outside Madison. The last update said she was responding to treatment, slowly, painfully, like someone thawing after decades in the cold. I don't hate her. Hatred requires energy, and I'm done spending mine on ghosts. If she ever gets better, I hope she finds a life that actually belongs to her. That would be justice enough. Evan. He testified. He confessed. He handed over every message, payment receipt, and memory he had. Prosecutors labeled him a manipulated asset with diminished agency. He served 14 months in a low-security facility. He's out now, working at an auto shop in rural Wisconsin, sober for the first time since he was 16. He sends me postcards sometimes. 1 more month clean. Thanks for giving me a chance to fix my life, man. For a kid who grew up thinking loyalty meant obedience, that alone feels like a miracle. Evelyn, she fought the charges at first, screaming, clawing, bargaining. But when the court revealed just how deeply Sullivan owned her life, she broke. Completely. She now lives in a care wing of a nursing home in Duluth. Her mind comes and goes, drifting like a radio station losing signal. Some days she thinks I'm the mailman. Some days she thinks I'm her husband. But once on a day, when her eyes were strangely clear, she looked at me and said, "I tried to protect my children, but I was the one who hurt them most." And then she cried like a widow at her own funeral. I left the room quietly. Some vengeance isn't about punishment at all. It's about truth catching up. Sullivan. He'll die in prison. Solitary confinement. No scalpels. No influence. No power. Just a brilliant monster left with nothing but his own echo. People say that's not dramatic enough for a man like him. I disagree. Letting him rot in silence is the first truly ethical decision he'll ever be a part of. And me, once the investigations ended and my name finally stopped appearing in legal briefs and news crawlers, I was left with a question I'd never learned to ask. What do I want now? I wasn't sure. So I went back to the only place that ever made sense, medicine. But not the ER, not the battlefield. This time I teach. I work with physicians, over 50 men and women who have lived too long in fluorescent light, who carry invisible grief in their shoulders, whose marriages have cracked under the weight of 3 a.m. pages and missed holidays. I help them recognize burnout before it devours them. I tell them that exhaustion isn't a moral failure, that rest isn't cowardice, that surviving your career is just as heroic as saving a life on the table. Sometimes I catch my reflection in the lecture hall glass. My beard's gone silver. My voice is softer. My patience deeper. I look like the man I never got the chance to learn from my real father, or the one who raised me. Maybe both. Maybe neither. And then there's her. Her name is Grace Whitford, a therapist who specializes in trauma recovery for caregivers. She came to my class once as a guest speaker, ended up staying afterward to ask why I looked like a man carrying 10 lifetimes behind his eyes. I didn't tell her the truth that day, but she listened anyway. Grace has her own history, a marriage that cracked under quiet cruelty, years spent putting everyone else's wounds before her own. Two broken people don't automatically make something whole, but sometimes they recognize the same shape of hurt. Sometimes that's enough to build from. The first time she held my hand on the edge of the lake, she said, "You don't have to be brave with me, Marcus, just honest." And for the first time in decades, I didn't feel like a man being watched, measured, or prepared for someone else's ease. I felt human. Just human. So this is the end of my story. Not explosive, not cinematic, just real. I still carry scars. Physical, emotional, historical. But scars aren't failures. They're maps. Proof that we lived through something. Proof that we kept going. And if I had to leave one final sentence for anyone listening, anyone who's walked through betrayal, manipulation, or a lifetime built on someone else's script, it would be this: I stepped out of the shadow of my own family, and in the end, I chose to be a good man in a world full of schemes. If you're hearing this, tell me, where are you listening from? And has your storm passed yet? Or are you still walking through it? Either way, you're not alone. If you've stayed with me till now, thank you. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. God knows I barely figured out my own. But here's what I learned after losing a father, a marriage, 20 years of myself, and then clawing my way back. You can walk through hell and still come out gentle. You can be betrayed and still choose not to become what hurt you. And no matter how long you've lived, it's never too late to start over. Not at 50, not at 60, not ever. So wherever you're listening from, I hope you find your way out of your own darkness. And when you do, I hope you choose kindness, not because the world deserves it, but because you do. I'm Marcus Hale, and this was the story of how I finally came home to myself.